What's up, everyone? Before we get into today's podcast, I do want to say a little something on tomorrow's election. So if you don't want to hear that, go ahead and skip ahead 3.5 minutes and we will talk hardcore all day. But let's get into that piece. What's up, everyone? I wanted to talk briefly about the election tomorrow because I'm pretty bullish on how simple this is. First off, if you're like an anarchy bro who only listens to disorder and the exploited and you refuse to vote on principle, I guess that's cool. You know, do you. Although, sidebar, the first dude that I ever saw with a cell phone was like an anarcho-punk with a mohawk calling his mom to pick him up from a show. So sometimes those dudes participate in society as well. But if that's you, whatever. Okay, but I do want to address the people that say, I don't live in a swing state, so my vote doesn't matter. I live in California, so my vote doesn't matter. I live in New York, so my vote doesn't matter. I live in Alabama, so my vote doesn't matter. You know what I'm talking about. It only doesn't matter because you expect everyone else to do something, so you don't have to do it. That's the energy of never returning your shopping cart because you know someone else is going to grab it and put it back for you. Or you're going to piss all over the toilet in a restaurant or bar because you know someone's going to come clean it up. Or just throwing trash out your window on the freeway. I don't have to do something because I expect everyone else will do it, so I don't need to. What the fuck, dude? This is some straight up Disney princess ass mentality. You know, wow, you're the chosen one. So you get to take a principled stand that both sides are bad. How fucking brave, dude. Okay, so I hope you vote, you know? This isn't a political podcast, and I hope that this is the last time I ever talk politics on here, to be honest with you. But I'm going to keep this pretty simple to the ethos of this podcast. We are an anti-racist podcast. We believe in unity, whether you believe that is corny or not. We always talk about how there's no such thing as too many anti-racist songs or too many unity songs. That's a backbone of this music that I love, and I think it's important. So let's get to tomorrow's presidential election through the prism of this podcast's ethos. One nominee is a racist. One nominee is a person of color and not a racist. One nominee has a history of rape and sexual assault. And if you want to mince words on rape, how would you feel if your mother, wife, girlfriend, or daughter got finger blasted by some dude against her will in the dressing room of a department store? It's rape. And this dude also bragged about sexual assault. It's on camera. Y'all heard it. Grab her by the pussy, right? What the fuck, bro? And also as a bonus, only one of these two candidates ever palled around with Jeffrey Epstein and flew on his plane. So there's that. I'm going to keep this short and not go into policies or, you know, things I care about like the environment or public lands or public works projects or just simply treating people decently. Simply put, fuck a racist ass rapist. Fuck anyone who constantly others people and who dehumanizes people. Fuck Donald Trump. And don't get it twisted. Anything but a vote for Kamala Harris is a vote for Donald Trump. All right, let's get on with the show.
Way to go, dude.
185milessouth.com.
Smash that Patreon button.
185 Miles South, a hardcore punk rock podcast. What's up, everyone? We are back and talking hardcore, helping out. You know him, you love him. It is the best dressed man on the pod. It is Daniel Sant. What's up, Dan?
When shit goes down, no one's around. Just you and him no way he'll win.
All up and out, 6'2". What you gonna do? It is the mighty Posy Chris. What's up, Chris?
What's cracking?
And back for round 2 from Praise, it's Austin Stemper. What's up, Austin?
Can't turn my back. No need to fight. My edge on him is my insight. Chris, you let me down, man. I thought you were going to take the reign there.
Oh, it's a gap year with Chris there. What are you going to do?
He had a brain fart.
I was letting Dan stay on brand.
That's fair. Okay, we're going to jump way forward and we're going to talk 2019. I wanted to do this because in years past, like I feel like a hardcore generation is like 3 years, it's like every 3 years it'd be like a new group of kids, that would be the lifespan of your average hardcore kid. And now it's like endless because it's so easy to just stay involved in hardcore with the internet. But I do think that like taking a look back at where we were 5 years ago is kind of interesting. It's half a decade. It's also the year before COVID hit. So that's another little interesting milestone. And also a lot of bands that were doing stuff then are some of the bigger bands now. So not much has changed, but maybe a lot has changed. I don't know. I just thought it would be good to take a look at 5 years ago and see where we're at. What do you think about this exercise, Dan? And what's your take on 2019 looking back?
Well, it's 5 years, so it's a nice like round number away. But at the same time, it goes to show a level of, and I don't know if this is due to my age and my participation or whatever, but it goes to show that in this day and age with streaming, etc., how quick things move on and how only the absolute dyed-in-the-wool 100% smashes like stick around and are played more. Whereas, like, we go back to stuff in 1988 and 1989 constantly, but because everything's moving so quick and there's so much stuff and it's up on streaming and you didn't have to go out necessarily and buy it, that you can spend a week with it and then that's all you spent with something and then you moved on to something else. I don't know if that's accurate for everyone else's participation in this kind of stuff. But that is what I've felt a little bit going back and looking at stuff from this time period. That being said, there is a lot of great stuff. But I'm just saying it was strange to kind of come up to engage in that like thought process of like, oh yeah, like why have I not gone back and listened to this as much as I should have?
Chris, what's your take on 2019?
2019, awesome year for hardcore. I mean, we say this about every year, somewhat just acknowledging, obviously not every year is as good as every year, but I don't know, with this one, I felt like especially there was a lot of stuff that really stood out. I totally agree with Dan that like the further that you go into, the present, the more stuff kind of comes and go that you really like. But I felt like from this year, there's quite a bit of stuff that I actually still listen to really regularly. So, I'm psyched to get into it. But yeah, in retrospect, like looking back, crazy year that this was like the last, the grand finale before COVID. I went out to This Is Hardcore in 2019 and just thinking about that is like, how big and massive that was, but also like was like the last big and massive, music related thing that I did before things shut down for a while. It was kind of, I don't know, a sobering realization. I think this is also kind of the year that I started discovering like some hardcore podcasts. I want to say I probably started listening to 185 about this year too, probably. So yeah. Had to go back into the archives and catch up.
2019 is the first year. We start in April or May of 2019.
Well, I didn't have to go too far back then. I do remember, I was thinking about this today, but Embrace Gate, I remember that was a topic of discussion.
And it still rings true to this day, dude. But we should take that opportunity to shout out episode 1, The Legend Joe Rivas. What's up? 2019. And yeah, it is wild, Dan, you talking about like, the older stuff always feels timeless, and it is strange. Like the closer time gets to the present, stuff does have to be super spectacular to like stick with you. And it's just wild thinking in like the context of a 5-year span. I mean, think how different hardcore was between like 81 and 86. or 86 to 91 or 91 to 96. Like these are giant leaps, in what hardcore is, for better or for worse sometimes. Right. But if you compare 2019 to 2024, like I don't know if much has changed at all, really, outside of like the popularity boom coming out of COVID. I don't know. What do you think, Austin?
2019 is a really bittersweet year. It's probably the most bittersweet year I can think of for hardcore, with the most obvious kind of parallel with all that being COVID the next year. But it did feel like it's weird. It felt like probably the years prior, from like at least from my vantage point of like maybe 2015 or so, it really felt like hardcore. I wasn't super enamored with what was coming out. Seemed things kind of felt a little samey. Felt yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say I was feeling jaded at that time, but 2019 was really interesting. It felt like a lot of bands were also kind of breaking from the stagnation and starting to do some really cool and new things. And it felt like a lot of bands were kind of using that year as a step towards something that they were working towards for maybe 2020. Like if they were recording records and putting them out that year, and they had 2020 planned for touring or to do other things with their bands. That's what it felt like to me. And then obviously it was all taken away from everyone. So yeah, it was a really just interesting year. It felt like the bands that stuck through COVID, and who weren't COVID casualties, they came out on the other side of it bigger than ever. And then there were some bands that through COVID I thought that I would see again and have just never will. They either broke up or just other things happened to bands. So yeah, a very, very interesting year and remarkable. Just with those circumstances alone, I thought that bands were doing some really cool things as well. A lot of bands playing with the genre of hardcore, a lot of different kind of splinters of hardcore being toyed with, a lot of styles that I really wouldn't have given the time of day in the past. There were records that came out, and I was like, oh, this is actually something pretty cool, and I want to check out this style even further. And who knew that I'd have the next 3 or 4 years to sit by myself in my apartment and really dive into those things because I had nothing else to do. So yeah, 2019 was a pretty interesting year for hardcore.
Yeah, and we should just say that coming out of 2018, like there was some big stuff then too. So like it's following up on Mind Force putting out Excalibur, one of the best hardcore LPs the last 10 years. Also in 2018, there was a Terror LP, there was a Madball LP, and there was Turnstile's last LP before like their huge LP. So there's all that. And then it's just the final year before like the world fell apart in 2020, right? And fucking broke everyone's brain by being at home too long on the fucking internet. 2019, there's some huge stuff. I don't know if we'll get into everything, but there's an Angel Dust LP, there's a Ceremony LP, there's a Knocked Loose LP. That's huge. I doubt any of us are picking stuff on it, but like it is notable. Also, the Gel demo comes out, the Scowl demo comes out, the Sunami demo comes out. Gulch's promo cassette comes out with maybe their best 2 songs. So they'd already done a demo in that 7-inch, but these 2 songs are like the holy fuck songs and really catapulted them in my eyes. Also, just want to call out Restraining Order put out that LP that's like one of the best hardcore punk LPs of the last 10 years. So let's get into it. Dan, let everyone know what a Super 7 is and the order that we are picking in. And also, we should side note, this is our first Super 6 because on the 1980 episode, I put out an ultimatum. We got to come in under 2 hours or we're dropping to a Super 6 next time. And Dan, Ben, and Clevo talked way too much and we went over 2 hours. So this is now a Super 6. But Dan, let them know what it is.
A Super 6 is when you're living in an oppressive world where an overlord is telling you how to think and how to act, and then you are forced to pick the 6 best songs in a round-robin format. It's a friendly, competitive way to build the best playlist / mixtape of songs from a certain year. You can pick songs by the same band, but you cannot pick the same song. So we go in order, kind of fantasy football style, and the order of this is Zach, then Chris, then Austin, then me, bringing up the rear in the Warrington Curse.
I love it, dude. This is my time to shine. Shout out E-Town. My pick number 1, I'm going to take the first 3 songs off the Never Ending Game LP. That is Evil Minds, Puppet, Into Just Another Day. I talked a while ago that I think this is like the best hardcore there's been in a long, long time. And it is. And I can't take one of these without the other. They all flow perfectly. It's the first 3 songs of side A. What, Dan?
You're taking 3 songs?
Shout out to the champ, dude. I'm stealing your style.
This is crazy.
Ow.
Super 6 just became Super 8.
Look, I was going to take the whole side A, but then I was like, that would be line stepping. So I'll just take the first 3 songs. Right? It's a compromise.
Okay. I'm already strategizing.
Evil Minds is a fast song. It's the best way to start off the record. It's just like from that double cymbal choke, we're in. These songs, this is like my favorite style of hardcore, right? The hard style. At its apex, it's like the classic 90s Madball. It's terror when they're at their best. And like this stuff, it's so hard, but so catchy. Every chorus on here is great, right? So you're hooked by the guitar riffs. You're hooked by the vocals. You know, the evil minds, so catchy. Or on Puppet, controlled by hate for everything. Just a puppet on a string. You know it. You listen to it one time and you know it. Or Just Another Day. No one cares about tomorrow. It's just another day. You fucking know it. You listen to it one time, you know it. This is the best of hardcore, straight up. And yeah, that's what I think. What do you think, Dan?
Well, that's like 10 minutes of music. So much for the person who doesn't like things that go on long. Yeah, I mean, Never Ending Game rules. They are so good on this LP, and you know, I wanted to love the new one as much, but I didn't. I find myself going back to this one more, which is one of those records that I do go back to, like talking about what I was saying in the intro about 2019. It's like, why don't I go back to that more? This is one that I do, but I do. I will lodge this complaint right now with the powers that be that taking 3 full unconnected songs, even for me, is egregious.
They flow so perfectly and in a row, Dan. For the sake of the playlist and because I got the first pick, we got to do this.
Okay. I've already strategized my rook to queen 9 for this.
I respect it. Chris, what do you think about this?
This is a great record and great 3 songs, but this is a bit, right? Like you're not actually taking all 3 of these songs.
Oh, yeah, I am.
Because Dan's going to lose his shit when I take the entire High Viz record as number 2 as my first pick. Dan might quit the pod.
Absolutely.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, if you really want me to just choose one, I'll take the first song. You know? If I've been beaten down enough, I'll take Evil Minds. How about that? It's the fast one. It's the closest to straight up roots hardcore. And then there will be no line stepping. I tried to have fun, but this is a Dan dictatorship, so I can't get away with it. Okay,
dude, I feel like that would be something you would never live down, almost to the degree of Dan never taking Minor Threat in the straight edge Super 6.
That's fair. Okay, Chris, what's your number 1?
Dan's sweating bullets right now, but I'm not going to take High Viz, and I'll say why later. But I'm going to take Fury, Angels Over Berlin, not because I think it's the best song of this year, but because I think it's one of the 6 best, and it's the song off this record that I really had to have. I don't know, like it's the same Fury. When this came out, it's the same Fury, like familiar sound, but like they're tapping into something a little bit different that really makes this song kind of special. There's some heavy quicksand vibes on this, in like the chord progressions, the drums, the guitar leads, and just kind of the overall construction of the song. Song kicks off with this opening guitar riff, and then like this one like high bass note hit that's like bling in the background, and then the drums kick in, bringing in the beat. The vocal cadence is awesome, like building on those two. And then like there's this like palm mute part that comes in, and this is like a super quicksand vibe thing. Like they kind of like get quieter like via the palm mutes and closed tempos. during the verse and then open back up during the chorus, and it just makes it super dynamic, kind of like how those two play off each other. At 110, there's like the super simple, really cool guitar lead that adds like this, I don't know, just extra vibe. 136, they kind of break it down, and there's this like big long dive bomb. And like the next part is super, super quicksandy with like these two like staccatoed hits with like a break between each time it does it. And then like there's like this lead floating over the negative space between those hits. And it's just like all building to this conclusion of this song. It's just like this giant crescendo that just, I don't know. It's awesome. I love this song and I had to have it. So I'm taking Fury, Angels over Berlin.
Austin, what's your take on this?
Great pick. This was my Fury pick for the year. Chris, I think you nailed all of your analogies on the head. Quicksand references, not just musically, but the Years of Carry On lyric that they recall to. It's Quicksand. Some other cool allusions they make with One Last Wish. The dive bomb is very catchy, very cool, very memorable. Quick story about this song, or at least the song title, Angels Over Berlin. Praise did a tour of Fury in Europe 2016 into 17. And I haven't texted Jeremy to ask him if that's where he got the name for this song or not. But anyways, we were in Berlin on New Year's Eve, and we had our money bag from the first like 4 days of shows. And we were out kind of just all being jackasses. And the person who will remain nameless ended up dropping the money bag with about 3,500 euros and pounds mixed in on the streets of Berlin. And we didn't notice it until probably about like 3 a.m. when we got back to the place where we were staying. Shout out to me and Mike in Berlin. And so we ended up, myself, since I was the only one who knew how to drive the van, it was myself, the person who dropped the money bag, and I think Andy came with us. So it wasn't me or Andy to rule out people by deduction.
We're playing the game of Clue right here, trying to figure out who dropped the money bag.
It was A. Norton. No, that'd be too obvious. It was Andy N. But no, so we were out until like 6 a.m. trying to find this money bag. Did not find it, which just obviously killed the vibe of the tour. We managed to, it was still a great time, great tour. It's about 2 or 3 weeks later, we get an email from Berlin City Police saying, hey, via a bank receipt that was in this money bag, we think we found your bag of cash. And, all the money was in there. And they took like maybe a 10% processing fee. But I like to think that this song is titled Angels Over Berlin because somebody actually found the money bag and turned it in and was actually being a good person and not just running off with the cash. They probably thought it was drug money or something, so they're afraid to have it. But yeah, this song, whenever I hear it, whenever I think of that song title, I think about that little memory. And shout out Fury and shout out Insist, who are also on the tour with us. It was a great time.
Okay, Austin, let's go to you for your number one.
Well, Zach, I appreciate you stopping with the first 3 songs of the Never Ending Game record so I can take the 4th song. I have to be strategic. And as I was saying earlier, with styles of hardcore that I don't really listen to or dabble in often, Never Ending Game is a band that I would listen to casually, and just that style of music, the harder stuff. But through Never Ending Game, I've become, a fan more so of that style of music. And this is my pick of the best song of the year. Well, actually, there's probably 2 or 3 more songs that I hope aren't taken for the next round, but I had to go strategic. You had me sweating bullets with Never Ending Game, your picks. So I'm going with God Forgives. It's the Never Ending Game song to me, besides Every Day I Hate. Especially live when they double up on the breakdown at the very end and they go halftime to the breakdown and it just sounds like a total beatdown part. It's incredible to watch. They're in on the joke. They know how ignorant it is. And it's pretty funny to see, as well as just menacing, because people really just, it's all hell breaks loose when they play this song. Yeah, so that's my pick for my number 1 slot, God Forgives, Never Ending Game.
It's a great song. It's just one notch below the first 3. But that whole side A is fire until they completely rank it with NEG jams. What the fuck is that?
True.
But those first 4 songs, Jesus. Yeah, this is one, it's kind of just like Just Another Day. It's like another bounce song, but that final mosh sequence is about as good as it gets. Like, it's just a tick slower than you think it's going to be, which just gives it that extra like head bob value. Like, it's so sick. It's like one that makes you do a sour face, you know? This is a great pick. I love it, obviously. Dan, what do you think about this?
Yeah, this is the bounce that you want. When you talk about bounce hardcore, this is like giving you that bounce. And I could not have summed it up better myself. The sour face that this breakdown gives you, 100%. I co-sign that.
And when they do it live, they just double down on the sour face, and it's like you're eating an extra sour warhead because they do it again, and it's even slower. It's so nasty. Shout out to Derek. He's my boy in Never Ending Game, and I told him I'd go number one with this pick. So there you go.
Okay, Dan, are you taking Choose to Lose?
Yes, I am.
All right.
Now, I was going to go Choose to Lose into Walking Wires, but I'm just going to Choose to Lose. This opens with, essentially Youth Crew toms and does that. And it's just so core, and like it is the ultimate like clear the shit out part. And then it goes to just such a great like Manchester jangle. And then when it kicks back in, right, when Graham's vocals come in, like, unbelievable. This is just grade A songwriting and performance. And the lyrics, I fought and lost, heart and dignity. That's my Scouse accent, by the way. I've become the failure. Like, when you see them live and everyone just screams that, I become the failure. It's just so good. And then, is there a better, like, for this, like, the I can't refuse, I choose to lose, like, parts? It's just ultimate mic time parts. Take the mic out of the mic stand, please. We want to participate, Graham. Share the mic with your brethren. I mean, this is amazing music.
Yeah, this is so good. One thing, obviously, Dan, you calling out the Youth Crew toms. Youth Crew toms are so nice in non-Youth Crew places. It's like one of the greatest tropes in music. The other thing I want to call out on this song is just like the minimalism of the lyrics. Like, obviously, High Viz is not a Discharge type band, but like, if you look at the lyrics, like, I just love how there's not that many. You know what I mean? But like, you would never think about that in a song this beautiful. You would think that like, oh, there's long flowing lyrics, but it's like so succinct and perfect. And, this band, when they match like this jangle with like the straight driving punk pulse, it's about as good as music can be. This record is absolutely fabulous. We fucking loved it when it came out, and we talked on the pod, and we've been loving them ever since. Like, they haven't let us down yet, and hopefully that LP comes out this year, maybe early next year, but we are anticipating it heavily as well. What do you think, Chris?
I was going to take this number one overall, or number one for me, but I thought that I was being smart, and I thought that Dan was going to take the Bastard Inside and that I'd be good to come back around to it. So I fought and I lost. But yeah, killer song.
I would have taken this if I knew that I was going to get slapped down on my line step, because like if I was playing defensively, I would have taken this. Although I think Voices is my favorite song on the record. So.
You know what's great is I'm here sat in the fourth pick as a mastermind, just laughing at my two enemies crying before me.
Hey, the champ don't miss, dude. We say that all the time. You know what I'm saying? Austin, what do you think about this?
Yeah, as I said earlier, with COVID being a nice time to kind of catch up on stuff that I missed in years previous, this record totally missed me when it came out in 2019. But coming back to it, and especially around the time Blending came out, which I absolutely adore, I was able to revisit this record. And this is the song off this record, and especially this song and the part that you referenced, Dan, with the Manchester jangle before the Scouse bark. It's almost like their refused new noise part, like the Can I Scream, just that context of the soft quiet juxtaposed with the command. It's just so impressive and so emphatic, and it works so well, especially live. I think I really fell in love with High Vis, not only just on record, but watching their set from, it must have been Outbreak 2022, and then playing this song, and that part in particular was like, this is impressive, and this is demanding my attention. So yeah, great pick.
Okay, I am going to take Dead Heat to the Core. Dude, I love Insular Scene songs. I also love songs about Oxnard. And just imagine how much I love an Insular Scene song about Oxnard. It's a fabulous song. It's probably going to be the last 3-minute and 30-second song I ever take on this podcast. But this song cannot lose a single second of it. You know, it just starts out epic. And then that riff that it goes into, like before the verse, that is so sick. And the way they hook back to that riff, like halfway through the verse, is beautiful. And then blasting fast out of nowhere, because, like, you know, they're one of the better crossover bands going. The backbone has to be the fast beat. And then, of course, all building up to when they do the Nard tro at the end. Much respect. Yeah, I love this song. I have to have it on. I was so stoked when, Dead Heat blew up. I believe it was the year before 2018. They did like the Mind Force split, but this is the first 12-inch. And dude, I was so stoked to have a band out of Oxnard like break out like that, because there hadn't been that many bands from Oxnard that like went and toured and like put the name out there. You know what I mean? And in the early 2000s, like that is all I cared about, is putting like Oxnard on the map, like in punk still. It was a beautiful thing to see a band doing it like in the late 2010s, to see them do it again. And then to see Tarina break out in the last couple of years as well. It's like nothing could make me prouder. Dan, you want to speak on this, or should I shoot it to Chris for his number 2?
Well, I just got to say that I think it's a sick Of My Dead Body cover.
Shit. I know.
No.
Well, Dan, yours is beautiful as well.
No, nowhere near as good as this. This is ripping. Like, and I echo what you say in the fact, like, I love looking back, or not even looking back, like just embracing what hardcore is, because, we always say there's not, can never be too many anti-racism songs, and there can never be, enough songs about equality. But I also feel the same way about, there can never be enough songs where we're talking about what's special about hardcore, because that's something immensely to be celebrated, because it's something when you have a coworker, that has never heard of it, and you try and explain what that intangible thing is, and it's not translatable, but sometimes songs like these help you,
Yeah. Shout out to the Secret Handshake. Chris, number 2.
Yeah, I just want to add, like, yes, the split with Mind Force, like, got their foot in the door, but I feel like this LP, like, doubled down. Like, the split made people kind of, like, pay attention, but, like, when this record came out, like, this band was like, yo, we're here. What's up? So, yeah, this is the record that really made me a fan of this band. So, killer pick. All right, I'm going to go to what might actually be my number 1 song of the year. I'm taking Method of Doubt off of the 7-inch. I'm taking the opening track, World of You. The intro is so cool and spacey. It starts with just the 2 guitars, no bass, no drums, and they're like building this tension. And then there's like this ring out where the guitars ring out, and then the drums and bass line switch and kind of take center stage over that ring out. It carries through the first verse that the guitars are pretty sparse, and it's just really the song's being driven by the rhythm section and the vocals. And it's similar to the Fury song. I think the chorus like opens up and really hits, and that's what makes this song super dynamic. Also, I think the lyrics are super awesome. They're about kind of all the problems, all this world's problems being kind of a symptom of selfishness, and everyone kind of looking out for number one. And I don't know, it's just a cool approach to that topic. I don't really know a ton about like this band and why they kind of seemingly disappeared, but like this 7-inch was awesome and really kind of set them up for this masterful LP that came after COVID, and then they just kind of disappeared, fizzled away. But I know their drummer, I believe, he played drums, opened up what seems like a fantastic record store in Atlanta called Disorder Vinyl. So throw them a follow on Instagram and swing by if you're ever in that city.
Yeah, this is a kind of a crazy band to follow, right, Chris? I remember when the LP came out and you absolutely loved it. It was one of your favorite records of the year. And you kind of thought that it was going to be maybe a trend starter in a way, right? Like it could lead the charge like of a sound. And then they just broke up and like we never heard anything again. It was pretty bizarre.
From them or that sound.
Right. Right. It's like, fucking A, like all our predictions can't be good. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, I think it's sick that you still ride for this band. So.
This just in. Method of Doubt is back and playing shows again.
There's that. Austin, you want to speak on this or you want to take your number 3? Or excuse me, your number 2?
Yeah, and shout out Yoon, the owner of Disorder. Played drums in Method of Doubt towards the end, played drums in Abuse of Power, does House of Disorder Fest. He's a good all-around hardcore lifer. So yeah, throw him a follow on the socials. Method of Doubt, I really enjoyed their tenure as a band, kind of like their evolution, although it was a demo, a 7-inch and an LP, if they even had a demo, I don't really remember. But of all those South Florida bands, kind of the general Southeast bands, there were so many. It seemed like there was such a dearth of these kind of bands in that scene, kind of like the South Florida thing that was going on. But this band really, it always to me stuck out. Like there was a little extra quality to them that kind of put them ahead above all the rest of the shoulders. So yeah, this is a great pick. It's like Burn influence, Lion of Judah inspired. So there's some DC stuff going on. Yeah. And I was also championing them as well to kind of be like a band that can make it through COVID and do some cool things after. But yeah, it goes to show that we aren't future tellers. So it sucks. But rest in peace, good band. I can go ahead with my next pick.
Yep.
And this is, after this pick, it's pretty much smooth sailing. I was so worried that this would get sniped because this is my number 1 pick, but I had to be strategic with Zach's line stepping. So I'm going with the best song of the year. It's "What Will You Do" by Restraining Order.
Yeah.
It's just it's a perfect
way.
Yeah, it's just a perfect return to form, classic hardcore song. Great lyrics about the scene of today, not putting up with people who stick around too long, jaded people, et cetera, kind of like, what are you doing here? What are your intentions of being here? Are they genuine or not? If they are, or what are your reasons for leaving? Genuine or not, that's cool. If not, get the fuck out because we don't need you here. But yeah, seeing this song live, it always pops. It's always a pile on. I love this band. I love everything they do. The drumming's fantastic. This song, it's kind of like an introduction to all the members of the band. There's great guitar lines, great drumming, great bass runs, and then the dropout with the vocals going. It's just a perfect song. So I'd be remiss if this was not on my list.
Yeah, side A of this record flows so perfectly. It's like one of the great sides of hardcore punk in the last 10 years. It's very hard for me to pluck a song off and say like this would be the song. But I guess if gun to my head, if I had to choose a song off side A, it would be this one. Fabulous pick. And I kind of thought that when I tried to line step on Never Ending Game, Dan would come back and in the first round take side A of this record. But the champ let me down. So what are you going to do? Dan, what's your take on this?
All right. I mean, this band lives in a world that is just perfectly like roots hardcore meets boot meets like just upbeat, like modern at the same time. Like everything about it is perfect and everything they do sounds amazing. And you did say, "What will you do?" Right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I might be alive for something else as well.
There's a couple songs on side B that are sneaky. I would say that this first LP, if I'm comparing the two, first of all, this LP has a better cover. Definitely wins on that. It might have the better fast songs, and the new record might have the better mid-tempo songs. So,
Good
but
call.
it's hard to put the two head to head. Like they really came with it with a second LP. So much respect. Okay, Dan, let's go to you for your number 2.
Okay, I will table this for now then, and I will take. I think I'm going to go somewhere that might be under threat by one of you lot later, and I think I want to take it anyway because I think it might, besides High Vis, be some of the best stuff for the year, and I'm going to go Self-Inflicted Mental Terror by Gulch. This is just such an epic song. I mean, Cries of Pleasure, Heavenly Pain. I didn't, I actually just had to do a straight up like coin flip. Although I don't have a coin on me, I just had to just pick the thing, and it was torturous to pick the two. The only reason I'm going with Self-Inflicted Mental Terror more is his vocals on Elliot's vocals on this rendition. It truly sounds like someone completely like losing it and being in that true mental terror that is being described. The song also does such an epic fake out at the beginning. It like feels like it's going to do this big build up, and then it hits that, and then you think it's going to explode, and then it goes to another build. And I think that was like such a cool way to do it, but two different styles. And Gulch is one of those bands that can put multiple different parts in a song and it flow really well and not just sound like there's another band around this time, Candy, that would do like lots of really cool parts, but I wouldn't catch the like link. It would sound like, oh, that's a great part, but the songs didn't give the flow like the Gulch ones do. They're just like epic songs. I really loved this, 2-song, I guess, tape. It was a tape, but I mean, I listened to it on streaming. So 2-song demo when it came out this year. I spent a lot of time with it.
I believe they call it a promo, Dan. That's the thing. A promo.
Aye.
Yeah. The Candy is a good call out, and the way you explain it is pretty perfect because they do have some similar parts, but Candy is like a straight up metalcore band, and Gulch is, at the end of the day, they mix in so much shit, but they're a fucking punk band, dude. Like, they're so sick. I think these are their best 2 songs. And yeah, it's a coin flip, like you said. I'm most of the time on the other song, just because like that, the way that they blend like that black metal intro to start it out is just so sick. But this song might be like the gnarlier one, the one that you picked. I don't know. I mean, it's just an absolute fabulous band, and one of the biggest bummers that we never got like another record from them, because even though the LP was fabulous, it was kind of a catch-all. It had songs that we'd heard before, and it would have just been something really special to hear like a full record of new songs. Like for them to like go in and do a full clean slate record, I think it could have it. I don't know. It's just one of those what ifs that we never got in hardcore. And, we have all these what ifs from like back in the day, right? Like what if there was a Chain of Strength LP or an Inside Out LP, or I always wonder, like, what if the first Rorschach LP sounded good? You know what I mean? Like, what if they went to fucking, Normandy Sound instead of wherever the fuck they went? Like, God, that could have been one of the greatest LPs of all time. And some people still would say it is, but like, it's still a what if. And because, dude, that record kind of sounds like shit, But like, I would put this like what if of Gulch in that, especially for modern times. Like, I really wonder what that LP would have been, Yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's go on. And we are, oh, God damn it, we're going to me. I don't like the 1 slot at all, Dan. I prefer to not get it. So, You should keep cheating and pull that number one from here on out. I don't know what to do here. All right. I'm going to take one of probably the most consistent hardcore band that I've liked in the last decade, or maybe even two at this point. I love Downpresser. Every single record rules, and they put out a great LP this year. And one of the most fabulous things about Dan is his lyric writing is so great in the fact that they don't circle and hit the same guitar part twice. Like the Downpresser is kind of wild. It goes part, out. You know what I mean? But this record, and especially the song that I'm choosing, has a fucking hook, dude. I'm taking Born to Be by Downpresser. It's so catchy, dude. When he has the Born to Be, what's become of me? So good, dude. And that opening riff, when it's just by itself, it just sounds so iconic. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where, Sean's going to hit it and you're going to see like the pit start to clear, then it comes in heavy. And then this song is just a double kick fest. It's not made for Ben, but I think if Ben smoked a little weed, he might like this song, really this record it's interesting sonically. In a time where most like bands that lean heavy into the mosh, they have like these hyper produced records where everything sounds fake. And I will say like the drums are so like forward on this record, but that's like it's a total vibe. And also we should say RIP Kale Sane. His performance on this is absolutely fabulous. But like the way that the guitar sounds on this, like it sounds like it's, I guess I don't know. It's hard for me to speak on it because I'm not like a fucking engineer, dude, but it sounds like it's not super compressed. It sounds like noisy and loose and like spacey. And it's an interesting sound for like a heavy guitar on a heavy guitar record. There's something about it that like, it just breathes so much life into this thing. And it doesn't sound like a sterile, like metal moshcore record. Like there's just, I don't know, that production choice makes it come off kind of punk, even though this is like 100% like moshcore and like heavy riffing. So yeah, I don't know. I absolutely love this thing, and they have never put out a bad record. So that should be commended. One of the most consistent hardcore bands, of the last, I think 15 years at this point, 15, almost 20 years. So hell yeah. Okay, Chris, let's go to you for your number 3.
Dan made me super nervous, so maybe I can return the favor here. This was one that I felt like I might be jockeying for position with Dan on, but I'm taking Build and Break by Torso. Honestly, all the songs on this record are dope, but this is my favorite, the standout track to me. I think it might have been the first single, and so that might be why it stands out even more, but like, what a killer, like, just absolute ripper. The vocals are super pissed off. Really cool vocal hooks with like the "You'll Never Break Me" part repeated. There's even like after the first chorus, there's a killer like Vogel style guttural where the vocalist goes, "Oh," which is something that maybe you don't expect from a band that plays this style of like just fast ripping hardcore, but sounds awesome. There's the breakdown is just like a super hard ass 2-step part. And then like the lyrics are kind of a slightly different take on, the kind of "you'll never break me, you'll never break my spirit" kind of trope in hardcore. But like the spin that they take is basically, if I'm reading it right, like you can't break what's already broke. Like the actual lyrics are, you tried to break me, but I was never fixed, or something like that. But yeah, I love this song. I love this band. What an absolute ripper. Psyched I got it. I don't know if I sniped Dan or not, but
Dan, did he snipe you? And what's your take on this?
Didn't snipe my song from this EP. So I might be adding that to the thing, but as Chris says, one of the best. Like one of the best to do it for such a consistent long time. The best style, like, and the best drumming. Just it. The recordings are always so good too, like complementary to the sound. of how they are, and it's just fast hardcore with really well thought out transitions and amazing like breaks. They're always like more on the upbeat side of a break, and it's just always so good. I really love Torso.
Yeah, it's a pretty complete package band. You know, like all the records are good. The imagery matches the songs. They play like a raw style of hardcore punk, but they're not shying away from having a chorus. They're not hiding behind some like vocal effect bullshit. And yeah, I think this is a track, Chris. I love a band that sounds kind of gnarly like this when they tuck in the Youth Crew toms. So hell yeah, I think this is a great pick. Austin, let's go to you for your number 3.
All right. For my third pick, kind of breaking from strategy, I can now go with my current favorite band and favorite band of 2019. And this is Magnitude with the song Opposition. It's the first real song on their album, To Whatever Fateful End. It's a great opening song for a record. It's got I love records that start with songs that can be used as kind of like a mission statement for the rest of their record, where it has little dabbles into different tempos, changes. It's just like an all encompassing package to kind of give you an idea of what you should be expecting for the rest of the record. And lyrically, it's a great song addressing, it's a straight edge song, but more on the topic of empathy and sympathy for people who are living with addictions and trying to help, recontextualize those things to people who are struggling. I'm a sucker for a straight edge band, especially for a band in, 2024, 2019, just whenever. They're my favorite band currently going, as I said. And they just they're that band, that straight edge band that I think every generation needs, that it has younger people in it who are super sincere and super impassioned and emblazoned, with kind of carrying the torch to really kind of to just milk a metaphor that's so often said. But yeah, Magnitude, they're my pick for just my favorite current band. So shout out to them.
Hell yeah. Okay, Dan, maybe the current premier straight edge band, straight edge song, the first legit song on the record. If you don't have a take on this, we're gonna have to. I think I can boot you out the room. So, so are you gonna come with it, or are you gonna get booted?
All right. I like the giving a bit of strife, giving a bit of outspoken musically on this, but Austin says that they have very thoughtful, empathic lyrics in this, but in just general, like, I love when straight edge bands think cerebrally about what straight edge is. It's not just, oh, it's just this, I'm just doing this. It's like it encompasses your entire lifestyle to, let you go through the world and avoid pitfalls, and then also learn to help others that need the help. I think that's great. But when I saw them play with Unbroken in Philly, they were so great, and I just loved them even more after seeing them in that context, and it being a very 90s sounding band playing with probably the kings of the 90s sounding bands, it just was a great moment. This is a great pick.
Also, North Carolina, we got a shout out to Ric Flair. What's up? Okay, Dan, let's go to you for number 3.
Oh, number 3 already. Okay, I'm going to go with... Well, I'm just going to keep the Torso train rolling. I'm taking Repulsion by Torso, which is kind of like this is a fast band, so this is like the mid-tempo side of it, but it has this amazing build-up that it like totally builds to, and then Giacomo the drummer like does this amazing like drum thing, and he like, and then it just kicks in, and oh my god, this song is amazing, and it is just brilliant lyrically, and their voice sounds amazing with this, because there's a like, it is full mid tempo on the verses, so you get like more of a, you can hear a lot more attitude instead of just the screamingness of it on other faster songs, and I just think it just is a lovely pocket to be in. Like it's a brilliant song. I mean, Chris already took a Torso song, so I don't need to talk it to death, but I'm just saying, Repulsion, check that song out, everyone.
Okay, I think I'm going to take the song 17 by Eyes of the Lord. And this is the first singer of 100 Demons with the Young Brothers, and this is their second LP. I love this record when it came out. I haven't listened to it a lot recently, but this song still makes playlists that I make. And the way it comes in is just so iconic. He goes like, I was 17 in 1983, dropped out of school and joined the infantry. You know, it's like a war song about him like going to fight in Panama in the 80s, which is pretty heavy. And yeah, it's a gnarly song. The way that the verse is with like the double picking on like the single string is such a nice verse thing to do. And then this is catchy, and the lyrics are visceral and raw and gnarly. And I mean, I think this dude's speaking to his lived experience, so you can't take that from him. And yeah, this is just fucking savage, dude. Dan, what do you think about this?
Well, I'm not familiar with it, but I did wanted to just say that you've already just sold me on making sure I check this out and get deep into it, because just your little performance of I was 17, you know, and joined the infantry. I was like, oh, I like that line, and it makes me like want to dive into this. So I will be checking this out ASAP.
Awesome. And Dan, it's going to have a very relatable chorus for you. So something to look forward to. Okay, Chris, let's go to you for your number 4.
Yeah, that solo in the middle of that track too is so sick. All right. I'm going to go Inclination on this one. I'm taking Uninhibited. It's not the best song on the record. I think the best song is probably the opening track, When Fear Turns to Confidence. But that song's 4 minutes plus, so I'm not going with that one. And like the other two songs are that were in contention are both like straight edge anthems. So I'm taking one of them. I'm taking one of the straight edge anthems. Like the Allegiance song that I took in the 2003 Super 7, the song is kind of like just okay, like for like 90% of it. And then you get to that line, as long as I breathe, I will be fucking poison free. And it takes the song from like a 6 or 7 to like a perfect 10. I don't know. Yeah, this is just, it's an anthem. And when they play that, you know, that part, like the room pops off. Cool lyrics too, overall, just about just straight edge, you know, about experiencing life as it is, you know, not dulling your senses, so you can experience, you know, all the joy and all the pain, embracing the beauty of like how the bad impacts the good in life. Yeah. So that's my track.
But on the downside, you'll never know how good reggae actually sounds. So there
Fair
is
enough.
that, you know. Dan, Inclination, what do you think?
Yeah, this was on my list. This song in particular, Chris already mentioned why. Because as long as I breathe, I will be fucking poison. Like, yes, give me that. And I really like the way that the vocals are on the verses, like punchy, like, can you feel that? Every sense. It really rides the music well, and the voice is awesome. It's giving, you know, there's a lot of bands that have like tapped into 90s hardcore, and there's a lot that do it where you're like, oh my God, I'm so bored, like I was in the 90s. And then there are some that just do it with so much energy and so much greatness. And I really like Inclination, especially this EP at the time. Of course, this is a long-term 185 trope, but it was Chris that got me hip to this, in 2019, sent this over to me, and I absolutely loved it, and listened to it quite a lot through to the end of the year, into the next year, this EP in particular, but this is the song off the EP for me.
Hell yeah. What do you think, Austin?
I'm with you all. This would have been my Inclination pick from this on my playlist. I did a 2019 playlist back in 2019 that had, I don't know, 40 or 50 songs on it, and it made that list. Somehow it's on this list as well. And yeah, it stuck with me. Inclination's a really cool band. I loved the band Foundation when they were around. And it felt like when they broke up, there was kind of a hole for the sound that they were doing that I grew to love, and especially being a straight edge band who's doing that sound. So when I heard Inclination, they kind of slid right in as far as doing that metallic hardcore 90s inspired, paying the homages and just being outright straight edge. And I think their guitar player Isaac does some really interesting things with his songwriting and just the way he plays guitar. He has a very brazen confidence to what he lays down, and I really respect that also as a guitar player. Like when you hear somebody who is confident in their riffs and plays them confidently, it's kind of like, oh yeah, this guy's got some cock swagger. Like he knows what he's doing, and it's really admirable. So yeah, I think Inclination, they're a great band, and they're a band that I'm glad rode out COVID and are still doing things in 2024. I know obviously Knocked Loose is bigger than they ever have been, and they're super busy. But to see them still playing shows and still releasing new music, it's really cool that they still have time to do this project. So yeah, good pick.
Okay, Austin, let's go to you for your number 4.
Oh man, like I said, I've gotten my heavy hitters out of the way, so the rest of my picks it's all just kind of like grab and go. So I had a couple options here, but I'm going to grab one that I just wanted to talk about that's been on my head, or top of my head today, listening to them. I'm going with Result of Choice with the song Digital Age. Result of Choice, they are also from the same scene as Method of Doubt, South Florida, doing traditional hardcore, the kind of the fastball stuff that we all know and love, but with some really updated takes on the style, in the sense that like the mid to late 2010s presented, I think, really through the channels of like Fury and some of the Moshish Delight stuff and some of the stuff that was coming out of DC at the time. This song in particular has the fast beat in it is what colloquially in DC is referred to as interloper D beat, which you have to ask Ian from Give what that means. But it does have that kind of D beat gallop to it, but it also has some cool skank parts. The riff, the riffing, it also pays homage to Step Forward, the Boston band. And when I envisioned, I was trying to like encapsulate what Result of Choice sounds like to me, and it sounds like if the Step Forward demo 7-inch and the early Fury material were in a boxing match, and they were both happening to wear Wishing Well shirts. That's kind of what that's how I would funnel, or how I would describe Result of Choice. And also, I feel like what makes this band even more unique and special is just Jules's voice sits so perfectly on top of the music. It's her kind of her canter and her cadence and her phrasing, especially on some other songs on the record. It's phenomenal. some of the speed at which she sings and just her tone of voice. It's kind of a weird analogy, but I think of it like Kurt from Chain of Strength, the way that his voice is just so perfect for the style that he doesn't really, it sounds like he's singing at, like 65%, but he doesn't really need to push it any further because it's just like that golden spot where his tone, his pitch just sits on top of the music so perfectly. I feel like Jules's does as well. So it really just kind of like it presents this whole total package of a really good band doing a root style of hardcore that has been done and is so derivative, but it still sounds fresh, especially with kind of including, the more contemporary things like the Step Forward 7-inch and the Fury the material, and especially like even bands like Standoff and some of the bands that Rob and Zayon had played in. Yeah, just a really cool band. I know Chris is really big on Result of Choice as well. So, and I think, he and I are kindred in that sense.
Yeah, we should just also shout out to the label Advanced Perspective. They've been like a label that's put out really solid stuff for almost a decade now. So shout out. Chris, what do you think about this?
Agreed. Yeah, this was a killer band, and I feel like, I don't know, kind of tragically, like they had, like we never got the best from them, or maybe we got a little bit of the best from them. Like everything that they did was cool, but like that comp song, I can't remember what comp it was. Maybe it was like a Triple B comp or something, or no, maybe it was LDB comp. But they had a comp track that was so killer. And
they were on that the last America's Hardcore.
Okay.
One of those,
the
one in like 2020 or 2021.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I remember that, dude, that song was so sick. And I remember just thinking like, wow, like this is like going to be the precursor to like what is going to be like a fantastic record from this band that I already really like. And I think that was the last thing we got from them, maybe if my timeline's not screwed up, but so that's kind of a little bit of a tragic, what could have been, as Zach was talking about before. But yeah, this is a really cool band. Had a really fun energy live too. I got to see them once with, was it Trapped Under Ice maybe, or Angel Dust? One of those two bands. One of the two Justice bands. They opened for them, and they were really cool. They just had like, I don't know, a fun energy that stood out a lot. So RIP.
Yeah, Chris, you're right on this. They put out a song called Greenwashed. It was the last song they ever did, 2021, and it came out on America's Hardcore Volume 5. So, yep. Hell yeah. Good memory, dude. Okay, Dan, let's go to you.
Nailed it.
Nailed it. Dan, let's go to you for number 4.
Okay, I'm going to go with a band that started in this year and put out a demo, and oh my god, what a great song to just introduce yourselves to the world. I'm going with Turbulence by Gel off the demo, Hardcore for the Freaks. What I love about this is obviously a band that kind of like, I don't know if it's obvious, and I don't know if it's even true, but my understanding internally
it's like everything on this podcast. we have no fucking idea what we're talking about. Don't listen to us.
But we'll say it authoritatively.
Yeah. But this is a band that I think like were raised, or not even raised, but saw what Gloss did and then embraced some of that and just really took the power into the stompy style hardcore. The bass tone on this is so wicked. It sounds like it's like a giant snake being unfurled or something. It's like absolutely wicked the way it plods along. And then I really love the vocal delivery. There is, a healthy dash of reverb / slapback on the vocals, but not enough to make me go, oh God, they're hiding behind it. It's just to kind of create the vibe, because everything on it is noisy, but also so stompy and so just like amazing hardcore. And I really love the second vocal coming in like fire back the ass. Like it's
One more time, Dan.
real. I mean, I don't want to do it again because then the pod would get nicked for doing a cover, and because it was that it was that much of a good impression.
Well, this is the one. This is the one guest vocal I want to hear, Dan.
Okay, but I just like the idea of just this fucking world is beating us down, and we're up against it in every moment. And I feel like 5 years on, it's even more so the fact. But I love the fighting spirit. It's like don't give in. Essentially, it's just an entire ode to not giving in, accepting that the world is shit and just stomping through. And I really love it.
I'm 90% sure this is the second demo. I think that other one is first, but I could be wrong. I think the one with the 6 songs is first.
Oh, that's might be the case, but this is the one that came to me first.
Gotcha.
Like, this is the one I heard first. So maybe when I say introduction to the world, I just mean to the world of Daniel Sound.
That's right. It through Dan's
The
eyes
world
is
of
what
you.
that's what matters the most. And I mean, this is the mission statement for the band, right? Hardcore for the freaks. They've run with that since. So
yeah.
And this is fabulous. All this early gel stuff is great. So, and they're still great. They're a perfect example of a band that came out in 2019 and are now one of the best hardcore bands in the world, and one of the biggest name hardcore bands in the world. And yeah, I mean, I guess for a band playing pretty straight roots hardcore, maybe the biggest, So like of bands that don't have like a metal influence in their DNA, probably the biggest. Okay, Chris, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think is interesting because I think like their DNA, I've always thought like roots hardcore, but like heavy Nirvana Bleach influence. And I think this song is in particular one where that really comes through a lot. Like that bass line is just like, it's so stompy, but it's also so like, I don't know, Chris Novoselic,
Grungy.
What's that?
It's so grungy.
It is. It's super grungy. It's dirty, stompy, grungy. Like I'm just picturing like a SSD shirt and like, Chris throwing his bass up in the air like 30 feet and then getting hit in the head with it. But yeah, this is a banging track. I love how dirty it sounds, but like it doesn't lose. Like a lot of times when bands add some of that reverb on the vocals and some of like just the dingy tones, it sounds a little bit dull, but this sounds like super vibrant still.
I think it's that locking out sound mixed with a band like Hoax is what it is sonically. It's like you're taking the bounce of like the locking out stuff and mixing it with like a dirtier, raw punk band that like can rock that mid-tempo shit like Hoax. But who fucking knows? Okay. Back to me for number 5. I'm going to stick with a demo as well of a band that came out this year. And we're going 187 on a PIG. What's up? I am taking Sunami, Contempt of Cop. Okay, there's an intro and there's 2 songs on here. And the other Sunami song is probably the biggest hit, right? Weak Die First. But Contempt of Cop, dude, the way it comes in with that first riff, it's like this is sandwiched by 2 of the best Mike Dirt riffs there are. That first riff and that final riff. God damn. Sunami came out and they were playing, but they're really nothing to play with, dude. This band is so sick. And I wrote about them. There's a Substack for 185 Miles South. Maybe there still is by the time this episode comes out. But in one of the first articles I wrote about Sunami being the biggest DIY hardcore band going right now. And it's crazy because the way they blew up is so interesting, right? They blew up during COVID. They were kind of like a joke band that caught fire, and then they fucking went for it. And if you see them live, they're not a joke, dude. They are so fucking good, and they've put their hearts into this thing. They've turned it into an absolutely serious, punishing band. And also, like, in the last 5 years, we've seen so much bullshit in hardcore. So much bullshit in hardcore. And there is no doubt that every piece of bullshit in hardcore got offered to this band. And it's like every time that they're confronted with like a decision to make, which path are you going to take? It seems like Sunami always takes the less bullshit decision. You know what I mean? They've just kept it real, dude. Straight up, for lack of a better term. Like, this band has booked DIY tours, and they're not the style of band that you consider to be doing that. When they've booked DIY tours, they've hooked their homies up, and they didn't need to. There's been package tours in hardcore going for 20 fucking years when the opening band doesn't get paid shit. And Tsunami's breaking off the opening band $1,000 sometimes. You know what I mean? A band that is not adding kids to the show. Just straight up doing the right thing. Real fucking hardcore. And yeah, it doesn't really matter what ends up in this band one day, because these first 5 years, they've just fucking done it. It's like the music style might not be for everyone, and the imagery might not be for everyone, but like the ethos of what separate punk and hardcore from everything else is something that cannot be fucked with. And it's something this band has lived the entire, duration of this band, and it must be respected. So that's my choice. Contempt of Cop by Sunami. What you think, Dan?
I know you want to cap me. I crave death. Go ahead and set me free. That shit is hard. Yeah, this is it was their, announcement to the world, but it was a little tongue in cheek. But you know what? This song wasn't. I mean, yeah, there's some total like hard lyrics, and there's some real swagger on this. But this song is in 2019. The police are fucked. And I love what you said, about Sunami being that driving force of hardcore and pulling everybody up with them. That's if you need anything from Joseph, he'll just do it for you. Like, nicest person. He used to watch my dog Stella when I would go out of town, and I will ride for that kid for the rest of my life. Like, he's the best, and I just love that they started in 2019 and they're arguably the biggest band around right now, and well deserved.
Austin, what's your take on this?
I can't speak so much to Sunami as far as like music sensibility goes. It's really not my thing, but to double on what you said about them and pulling everybody up, my experiences with them have been nothing but positive. Praise was on a West Coast tour last year. We had a show in Tacoma, and we ended up being double booked on the same day as the Sunami Ingrown tour. They were kind enough to just let us play the show. We ended up playing like maybe second or third on the bill. And there's a ton of bands already. They didn't have to do that. And it was clearly their show. Like, there was a line for their merch that was, it seemed like it spanned the entire width of the room and then took a 90-degree turn and followed the length of the entire venue. Like 150, 200 kids deep who were there to see them. And so they didn't have to throw us a bone and get us on the show. And we stuck out like a sore thumb. It was Sunami, Ingrown, and Praise, which it's we were really out of our element, but the show ended up being awesome. And just watching them, I've listened to them in passing, and it's like I don't know what to make of it, because some people say it's like, oh, it's tongue in cheek, it's whatever. But yeah, like you said, watching them live, it's like I don't really get the tongue in cheek, because all four of these people look serious in what they're doing, what they're saying, and the messages, and how the crowd is reacting to them. And even like the way that the crowd was doing the interlude sound bits, like reciting those as well. It's like, this is a band that really has a moment and has hardcore in the palm of their hands. It's their world, and nothing but respect for Sunami. Yeah, in theory, I ride for Sunami all day.
You know, it may not have been a praise show that night, Austin, but if you do Caught in a Cycle into I Believe, everyone's slamming. So what's up?
That's true. I did tell people at that show, we introduced the set, and I said, "We are praise and we'll fucking kill you." That was kind of the icebreaker.
That goes over well in every room. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Chris, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I love it. Like this is like the hit for me, I think. And yeah, like this band can kind of do no wrong. Like nicest, like I don't know. It's funny. Like we're talking about, one of the biggest bands in hardcore right now, as if they're this crappy, not good band, and all we have to say are things about how nice guys they are. Because that's kind of like the thing. Like when a band isn't good, you're like, oh yeah, they're super, super nice. Nice people. But like this is a band that is good enough to be one of the biggest bands in hardcore, and yet the music they play and the quality with which they do it, and the seriousness with which they take their craft, like all that stuff is just kind of outshined by the approach and the people and like how they do it. So I think that in itself says volumes.
Chris, just for the record, I spoke on the song and the lyrics, not just if they were nice guys. So don't paint me with that brush. But let's go to you for your number 5.
No, I'm just saying it's so good, but like they just kind of one up it still, with who they are. So respect. I'm going to go back to the Restraining Order well. This is a song that I had a Restraining Order song much earlier on in my list. But as I kind of dug back into the record, I changed my pick like 3 times. In fact, the original track that I had was the one that Dan picked. And then, was it Dan? Yeah, I think so.
Austin.
Yeah, that was originally my pick. Austin? All right. Yeah, the second track. That was originally my pick. And then I started listening to it more, and then I went to the title track, and then ultimately I landed on Don't Really Think.
Ooh.
And the reason I did is like
I just got swooped.
You're coming back around it. Nice. So this is a song, I feel like Restraining Order's a band that, especially as Zach hit, like with their newer record, they're really kind of like, they really shine on those mid-tempo anthems. And I feel like those have become kind of the hits more so, but like this band can do no wrong, like with any tempo, they can crush the blazing tempo. They can make banging, just mid-tempo anthems. And then this song is kind of like that up-tempo, mid-tempo, like a real boot tempo with that kind of oompa tempo. And it might be my favorite track on the record, depending on which I listened to last.
Yeah.
But super, super catchy vocal hooks. Don't really think, I don't really think, don't really think, I don't really think so. Such a catchy vocal hook. And then it's followed by like the singy part that's even more catchy. When it goes, open your eyes and you'll see. Like, just when you think like, wow, like, can a lyric get any more catchy? Like the next part just gets more catchy. So yeah, that's why I'm taking this song. But like, honestly, this is a throw a dart record. This record is awesome.
Yeah, this is one of the best 2 mid-tempo bangers on here. This is my favorite tempo, like that super up-tempo, mid-tempo. It's like as fast as you can downstrum, and you're just playing it open. It's so sick, dude. This song, and then also Something for the Youth, are like the 2 bangers, in my opinion. But this side
That
A,
was on my short list.
yeah, this side A is just so perfect. And the way this is sequenced, like in the 4 slot, is just so perfect, and then coming out of it with another fast one and then going into This World Is Too Much, which is kind of like, I guess, the slowest song on the record. Like, again, side A is just so masterful, and not taking anything away from side B. Side B is great as well, but like, just the sequencing on this side A is just, it is unfuckwithable. Like, it is so fucking perfect. And yeah, I mean, this is kind of the standout song. It's kind of what everything builds up to on this side, I think. What do you think, Dan? Where does this fit in?
Yeah, this was going to be my Restraining Order choice. I really love the way the bass sounds on this, even above all the other songs where the bass sounds amazing. And then, yeah, Chris talks about that like last full on like early oi sounding vocal near the end of the song, which is just a complete transition. It's not like the verse or the chorus, it's just this like bridge to the end of the song that when they hit that part, it's just like, oh my God, chef's kiss. This song is brilliant, and Restraining Order should be in everyone's record collection.
Yeah, and get in those 185 archives, because the Restraining Order interview is pretty great. So handle business. Okay, Austin, let's go to you for number 5.
All right. So far, my playlist is pretty infallible as far as how I've kind of mapped it out. Let's see. We got Never Ending Game, Restraining Order, Magnitude, Result of Choice. So I wanted to throw in a little bit of melody before hoping, fingers crossed, my number 6 pick comes in to round things out to totally devastate everybody. But for my 5th pick, I'm going to go with a band that is definitely on the more hardcore adjacent side of things, but it's a band that really kind of started to take form and come into their own in 2019. I'm going to go with Anxious and their song Seeds. I had the astute pleasure to sit with Anxious for a writing session of this song, and to kind of sit in the rehearsal space with them and work on this music and kind of like see where their minds were going in the creative process. It really kind of it was pretty remarkable just to see people who are I'm trying to think how old they are. At the time, I think they were like half my age, probably 16 or 17, and I was 34 at the time. So to sit around and just see these high schoolers kind of go through the creative process and go through, the tribulations that we all have had as band members, and seeing it with, as if a hardcore generation is 3 to 4 years of kids, like like a dinosaur sitting around watching these people collaborate and just kind of go through that super subjective towing the line and just how they go about their business. And this was a song I think that really encapsulates the trajectory that they were headed in. And now they're a band that is super hardworking. They're out on the road all the time. They're really grinding. And I feel like this EP, the Never Better EP, and the song in particular, minus my involvement in it all, it's just a really cool kind of artifact to have to look back on and be like, this is where the band really kind of formed into their own sound and what they would end up becoming. So yeah, that's all needless to say that I'm super proud of Anxious for doing what they do. I think they run in a totally different world than, nowadays what would be considered the traditional hardcore circuit, definitely more hardcore adjacent. But I just think it's cool that they're doing what they're doing and that they are saying yes to the opportunities that are presented to them. And I have nothing but love for their singer, Grady. He introduced himself to me as a super young kid and just put himself out there and made himself vulnerable. And that stuck out to me as just a really cool thing. So yeah, that's my pick for my number 5 slot.
Chris, what's your take on this?
Yeah, cool band. I'm not super familiar with the song. I'd have to go back and listen to it, but this is a cool band that, as Austin has said, has really grown a lot over the last few years. I saw him play This Is Hardcore actually, and they were cool. In 2019, the one that I was talking about earlier, and they were cool. They were fine. Not like, I don't know. I didn't come away being like, this is my new favorite band or anything, but I was just kind of like, oh, this is cool palette cleanser between, Clubber Lang and Queensway or whoever. I don't know that they were exactly between those two bands, but those were two like heavier bands that I do remember played that year. Sorry, not Clubber Lang. I meant Billy Club Sandwich.
Oh,
Totally different band, I know, but sorry.
yeah, they don't represent the execution style.
I digress. But yeah, and then I saw them maybe like a year ago. They came and played Slow, and if a band that is somewhat in that hardcore proximity is playing Slow, I'm gonna go see them. And they actually really blew me away. They were awesome live, and I don't know. I could just see how much they had grown and like perfected their craft since then. So it was kind of a cool just juxtaposition seeing that COVID sandwich,
Okay, Dan, let's go to you for your number 5.
Okay, so if everyone can cast their mind back 3 minutes ago, when Austin was doing this intro about hardcore adjacent and bringing in melody and things like that, I was like, I'm about to get fucking swooped again. I was really nervous, but I'm glad he went for Anxious and, something that means a great deal to him. I am taking Turn Away the Bad Thing by Ceremony. I absolutely adore this song. Like, I love it so much. I love the way the bass sounds. I love the way it comes in. And then, you know me, this is everyone's millionth time listening to me prattle on, but I love when a verse has so much like melody in the vocal lines that it is just so catchy. It doesn't have to be a chorus that like really brings you in. There's such catchiness on the vocals here. It's getting harder for me to say it right. And like I love it, and I love then the transition to the chorus. It's not like a complete turn, it's just like a flow on. Then it drops in the middle and has that very ethereal singy part by the guest vocalist, and she has a beautiful voice. But that part to me is okay. That part is essential though, because the way the bass kicks back in to come out of that ethereal part and to bring it back to the closing refrains of Please Turn Away the Bad Thing, please, please. I really love those epic pleases at the ends of each line too. They're so great. Ross's vocals on this are really brilliant. But I mean the key part of this song is the bass coming back out of that ethereal part. I love it so much. I take the entire ride with this band. Lots of people get off and on, or just, oh, I love seeing them live now, but I don't like the records they make anymore, or things like that. Some people will say that. Get into all of it. It's great. Yeah, I can't wait till they do more. Like, whatever's coming next, I can't wait. Like, they're the best.
I've heard more people be into the later stuff than the early stuff in the last few years. So that's a testament to what they're doing. And yeah, sick ass band, that have always pushed the boundaries in like a really positive and inspiring way. So, Chris, what do you think about this?
Yeah, this is a beautiful song. Good pick. But more than the song, I want to hit on, like some of the things that we talked about with Sunami. I mean, Ceremony operated a lot in the same way, like always looking out for other bands, like supporting the scene, like putting their influence in the right ways, like So I think a lot of the stuff that we talked about with Ceremony, or sorry, with Sunami, certainly probably maybe at some level was even inspired by the example that Ceremony set in the Bay. So I think that's pretty sick.
Yeah. Bay Area, baby.
Okay, we are going to the heartbreak round, and unfortunately, it is me going first. Motherfucker. Okay, I am going to take the song Action by Minus. I was going to line step and take the whole record, but since I got shot down on Never Ending Game, it is what it is. And then when Dan gave me shit for taking the whole record, I was going to say, okay, I'll just take side A because the whole thing's on side A. And then when he gave me shit for that, I was going to say, well, I'll take side B instead because the whole record repeats on side B. But anyway, just because I don't want any fucking trouble, I'm taking one song, and I'm taking the song Action. Dan, this is the mid-tempo banger of the record. Really, this year, you know, I've talked it a lot on this pod with like Never Ending Game, that side A, with Restraining Order, that side A, the sequencing being so perfect. This is a record where I think it's better with Sum of All Parts. You know, like the sequencing on this record is so good. This record is so raw. There's so much YOLO in here. They tuck in like, you know, sub 30-second songs, but none of it is like throwaway fastcore trash. They're not a power violence band. They're just a straight up raw hardcore punk band. And it is absolutely fabulous. I think this is one of the most underrated hardcore records of the last decade. It's one of the best records of 2019. If you guys are not familiar, you should definitely check it out. This is a good time to say that there is a playlist for every episode, 185milessouth.com. Click that playlist link at the top of the page, or you can just find us on Spotify. But narrowing this down was very hard. And maybe it's like those first three songs flow so nicely, you know, but I can't line step. So maybe that fourth song, Dividing Line, is the best straight hardcore song on the record. But I'm going Action for the mid-tempo banger. This again is like that up-tempo, mid-tempo. It's about as fast as you can downstrum on a mid-tempo song. And it has a catchy as fuck chorus. That fuck what they say, watch what they do. Fuck what they say, watch what they do. So good, dude. This will win over anyone, dude, if you like hardcore. So that's what's up. Even if you're like the most stuck up true punk dude there is, you can put this on and just straight up love it. Yeah, check it out. But listen to the whole record. And again, DIY is fucking strong. I think Travis put this out himself, even though they were on Triple B and stuff before. So like they were on big, legit hardcore labels. They put this one out themselves, which is sick. So hell yeah. Dan, what do you think about this?
Yeah, this is so good. This is the one off the record for me because it's mid-tempo banger. I love the way that the bass and the drums are just in lockstep and at the forefront of the music. Like the guitars sound great, but the bass is the driving force of this song, and it is so good. And the vocals just sound so perfect, like over the top of it. And I like that he just has that. It's very straightforward hardcore delivery, but there's a little bit of an edge of screaminess, just tinging on the end of his vocal that gives it like a like kind of part. But I don't know. I don't know exactly what I'm saying, but the way the vocal is, it's really, really awesome on this song.
Hell yeah. Okay, Chris, let's go to you. Heartbreaker round.
Man, Super 6. The heartbreak round just comes earlier. But honestly, for me, the heartbreak round was the last one because I knew coming into this what my number 6 was going to be, not because it is my 6th favorite song. In fact, if that Method of Doubt song isn't my favorite of the year, this might be. And easily, this is the song that I'm most excited to talk about on this podcast because not enough people know about this incredible band. So I'm hoping to right that wrong a little bit. I'm going to talk about a song from the band Flexing. The song is called The Embrace. Shout out to Rudy, who recommended this to me. Rudy has impeccable taste and always recommends awesome stuff. Flexing they're an interesting band. They're from Corvallis, Oregon, which is college town, like 2 hours south of Portland. Dan, I don't remember if the Count Me Out pretending to be Swedish band, if that was in Corvallis or Eugene.
It was in Eugene.
Okay. Well, both college towns just south of Portland. Corvallis is the beaver centric one, but yeah, they're from Corvallis, which is, not a thriving metropolis city, and like one of the coolest bands I think around right now is out of it. They describe themselves on Spotify. Their little about me section describes them as DIY political punk / post punk / hardcore / whatever, which is funny, but honestly, like, it fits them. If you listen to this record, like, they have some straight raging hardcore songs. They have some more noisy stuff. They have some more kind of like, I don't know, stonery riffs, but I don't know what makes this band. I don't know. There's a few things that really stand out about this band. One, the vocalist is super talented. Like, they have this raging, pissed off voice at times, and then other times like singing actual real notes. And then the other thing that stands out is the bass tone on this record is super dialed in. And when you talk about this track, like, that's the thing that really stands out on this track. Both those two things. So the song kicks off with just the bass, like this bass line, and it's almost like kind of like a Fugazi-esque vibe. And so this bass line is going, and the drummer does like these like little snare rim rolls, and then into the beat. And then the vocals come in before the guitars actually come in. And like the vocalist is just kind of doing like kind of like a spoken vocals. And then the guitar comes in over the back of it, kind of like spooky and like, I don't want to say surf rocky, but like, because it isn't that vibe, but it's kind of bordering on that a little bit. And when the guitars come in and do that, the singer hits like a few actual like real notes, sprinkle it in, which sounds so awesome. And then, it all builds to the chorus, which opens up a bit, like the Fury song I talked about earlier, but not quite fully. And then it closes back into the second verse. And then before the second chorus like opens up even more, and then there's like this bridge that just builds the temp. Like this whole song, like even more than that Fury track, is just like this big crescendo, and then it just kind of explodes in the last like 15-20 seconds. I'm doing a horrible job talking about it, but I'm super excited for you guys, if you haven't heard this, to go check it out, because it's really cool. And then most importantly, like the lyrics of the song are super, super awesome. Like they're socially, politically charged. And the topic is kind of, that rhetoric that you hear people talk about when there's political clashings about how like, well, the left-leaning people in this country need to kind of meet the right-wingers in the middle for the sake of unity and the country. And, this song kind of addresses that topic about how, actually like rejecting white supremacy and like, reproductive rights and like some of the truly evil things coming out of the right shouldn't be a place where like we should even consider compromising. And so like every time like something comes up, I mean, it happened when like the attempted assassination of Trump, like there was all these people, oh, well, the left need to tone down its rhetoric. And it's just like, no, white supremacy is not okay. Women need reproductive rights. Like these aren't things we can compromise. And the lyrics of this song are just a really cool take on that. And like the vibe of it, just, I don't know. It's an awesome song. If you guys haven't heard it, super psyched for you to hear it.
Hell yeah, I will check it out. Austin, what is your heartbreaker?
All right. Like I alluded to before the anxious pick, I had to go with a little bit of melody before I closed out my playlist with bumming everybody out. Um, and this is a band that I think kind of went under the radar for a lot of people. I'm just looking at their Spotify page now, and based on their 57 monthly listeners, it's safe to assume that it missed a lot of people's radars. Uh, which is it's interesting because it features some prominent people from hardcore luminaries of the past. But this song, it really is it is the vibe of all vibes. I feel like this is a Tim Singer band from Dead Guy, No Escape, Kiss It Goodbye. Now he's in Bitter Branches, and I feel like his vocal style in Dead Guy, though it works, I feel like the music is just it's way too chaotic, way all over the place. It doesn't fit his vocals perfectly. No Escape, it's a very cool sounding band. It's groovy. It pulls from the Rollins band catalog as well, but it's dark, but it's more post hardcore, and I feel like his vocals are very jarring in that band as well. Albeit they're a great band, but this band that he sang for, it's a 3-song 7-inch. His vocals are just absolutely perfect. It fits the music perfectly. And just whenever I listen to the song, it really puts me in a very strange headspace, just based on just how dark it is. And it really suits his rambling, esoteric, just rantings, Rollins-esque, just kind of diatribes perfectly. This band is called Process Black, and the song is Breathing Becomes Difficult. It's a self-titled 7-inch that came out on Death Wish in 2019. And I really know nothing else about any of the other members of the band. I know that I believe they're from Portland. And I think Aaron Edge played guitar in this band. I'm not super familiar with what he's done in the past, but if anybody is into noisier type hardcore, metallic hardcore, borderline metalcore, there's first of all, like the production of this 7-inch is absolutely pristine. I think everything is recorded perfectly. Drums sound crisp. You can make out riffs. You can make out guitar. The tones are good, albeit abrasive. And yeah, it's just, it can get super chaotic. It can become very harsh, a la some Converge and like Kurt Ballou recording styles. Again, this is a style of hardcore that I'm not like super big on, but I don't know. There's just something about this song when I heard it.
All right, Dan, Heartbreak Round. What's your final pick?
Okay, this is extremely tough because, I have 2 picks left because I'm, ready for that Super 7. But, I no, it. Oh, also speaking to what Austin was just talking about, he said Aaron Edge. He didn't mention his most serious credit, which is Rollo in The Edge of Quarrel.
Dude, I thought you were going to mention an all-time terrible band in the history of hardcore, Genuine.
I know you hate that.
It's like one of the worst things in recorded music history.
All right. Well, for my heartbreak round, there's so much stuff still out there, and we'll get to it on honorables. And there's so much that's not even in my small things that could have been on. Like I was gonna revisit something, but yes, I did that with Torso. But now I'm just gonna pick something that is just so good. It is a song called Predator, and it is by the band Speed Plans. This song is so good. Starts out as like a really punky single coil-ish, like stomper, like kind of, but very rocking, like stomper. And then about at the 36-second mark, shout out Puzzy Chris, it then just ramps up and goes into a full-blown blaster. And the song is done in a minute. The vocals have so much attitude. They have so much like charisma. It's really great. It's so catchy, and it is just like perfect punk hardcore. It's fantastic. And this band has gone on to make some of the best records of the next few years beyond 2019. Other records that we've loved and that have been pretty much up for like 185 record of the year a few times. And you know what's funny? I just brought up 185 record of the year. I believe in 2019 when we did the very first year-end awards, Restraining Order, the LP that we're talking about so much on this pod, won the record of the year for 2019. So I didn't go back because both my Restraining Order songs were swooped. So I had to get Speed Plans on here.
Dude, that's so sick because, yeah, the Speed Plans LP from last year is one of my favorite records of the year. It was like my ultimate palate cleansing record just because it sounds so insane. This record doesn't sound as insane, but it kind of goes to show that this band isn't living behind like a sonic gimmick, because that record from last year is so ridiculously blown out. It's a record I like because of how it sounds. Like it's half the songs, but also like I just like the way it sounds. And this is them. It's a pretty decent raw punk recording. This kicks ass. I had a song on my short list, the song C4, the last song on the record. But I'm so stoked that this is on. This is great. Hell yeah, Dan. Okay, honorable mentions. Let's go right into it. I got a huge list. 2019 was a great year for hardcore. I'm going to blow through them as fast as I can. Agnostic Front, Antisocial. That album, Get Loud, had some jams. What's up? Bystander, Where Did We Go Wrong? Dude, that song kicks ass. And shout out Safe Inside Records. Shout out Burton Aaron. What's up? Chain Whip, the song Amber Alert. Combust, the song Last Wish. Death Before Dishonor, Left to Die. Delatar, I think that's how you pronounce the band. Oppression. And shout out for that song being 1 minute and 38 seconds. What's up? Detoxy out of Ventura, the song Masks. Super catchy if you like post-punk, like goth sounding shit. Division of Mind, the song Division of Mind, or DOM. This was one of my favorite records when it came out. It was one of my favorite heavy like metal hardcore records. I don't go back to it so much because there's so much of like that like Second Strife LP bullshit on here, you know, that it's hard to sit through. And I don't want to be listening to a record and always fast forwarding, but the songs themselves are great. The band Downfall, I took Intro into Take the Fall off the Dead to Me LP. This is one of the most underrated hardcore records of the last 5 years. This LP was absolutely fabulous in like a style that is maybe halfway roots hardcore, halfway straight up New York hardcore, and halfway hard style. Unfortunately, their follow-up LP that came out maybe last year was just like a straight metalcore record. One of my biggest letdowns of like a follow-up record, if I'm being honest. A band called DY7. I can't tell you the song. It's the second song off the record because this shit is sung in Icelandic, I believe. That album kicks ass. One of the best D-beat records for the year. Akulu, they put out a 7-inch. I did not like the 7 inches at the time, but I love them now because I loved the LP. Emulation. And I think that they're a band that, Chris, did they get destroyed by COVID? Or did they toured with they toured with Turnstile after COVID and then broke up, right?
Yeah. They went a little bit and then broke up.
Man, I hope they come back because that LP they did is one of my favorite things, in the last few years. Okay, Electric Chair, Casino, Foreseen, Infiltrator, Gel, Culmination, Hands of God, 245A, Hangman, Edge of the World, Loose Nukes, I Could Have Been a Killer, Nails, I Don't Want to Know You, Negro Terror, Voice of Memphis, got a shout out, RIP to Omar Higgins. I mean, that's an American classic, dude. Let's be real. Paranoid, the first song off Kind of Noise. Physique, their song Miserable Existence. Let's see here. Yeah, that's the mid-tempo banger off that record. Rata Negra, Ketendra, Restraining Order, the whole side A of the LP, and Something for the Youth off side B. Screaming Fist, Oxidation, Section Hate, Day of the Rope, Slant, The Trap. I can't believe no one took that. So fucking good. Speed Plan, C4, Take Offense, Zoned In into Guilt Free, The Eulogy, Not the One. Shout out Sergio. Shout out Matt Henderson. Vidro, whatever the fuck. Kala Dramar. Shout out Staffin. Don't Get At Me. Warchild, Twist of a Knife. Shout out to Warchild from Point Break. Zulu, 52 Fatal Strikes. That's all I got. Dan, honorable mentions.
Okay, I got to say that you avoided the Time's Up sucker, like, because you're the only one who owns it. Because I wanted to just give you a Time's Up sucker when you were like, well, this song's kind of like this. I'm like, what the hell is honorable mentions?
It's also my podcast. What's up?
Restraining Order, Be Like Me, Half Alive, and Emulation by Akulu, Presaging the End, Ceremony, Killing for a God and Blood on Your Boots, Rat Cage, Daydream, From Me to You, An Imagination of Being, One Step Closer, Culmination, Gel, American Gun, Speed Plans, I Don't Want to Live in a Fucked Up World, Chain Whip, Concrete, Chain Whip, The Trap, Slant, Poser, Bulldozer, Buggin', Cries of Pleasure, Heavenly Pain, Gulch, All Along the Oxbridge Road, the single version, Chubby and the Gang, Condor by Condor, which is a members of Reek's band that fucking rip. Existence and Shades of Confusion and Irresistible Force Paradox by Coolside. If you've never checked out Coolside, check them out. They give you all the Count Me Out stuff that you want, and they're a ripping band from California.
Yeah, we talked the Coolside on one of the side A, side B episodes, I believe. Also, yeah, shout out High Viz, dude. Fucking A, that record's so good. Chris, honorable mentions.
First song out, the 7th, Punitive Damage, Nothing. That one.
Oh,
I know.
I didn't have that on my list.
I didn't think that didn't. That's not on the spreadsheet, is it?
No, I thought it was
I'm not sure.
2020.
That might have gone number one for me.
Oh my God. It's Nothing. That song is amazing. And it is 2019 according to Spots.
Damn. That might have gone number one for me for real.
Damn.
Well,
sorry,
respect
fam.
Chris. Respect Chris on your number 7. No.
Let's start over. Austin. Let's see. No, yeah, the only reason I didn't pick that song is just because like I like the version on the LP better, like the recording's a little bit crisper. But yeah, what a track. Abuse of Power, the record. I couldn't figure out a track because all the songs are awesome. Wax with 2 A's. Angel Dust, probably my favorite Angel Dust record. Dark Blue, one of my favorite non-hardcore bands still to this day. Deflect from Florida. One Step Closer. Odd Men Out. Banging record. Another one I couldn't figure out which track to take. Fixation. That Face Wreck 7-inch was sick before they jumped the shark. Malactitude.
You got to say how they jumped the shark, Chris.
Before the rollerblades.
That's right. But
that
shout out to
7-inch was sick, though.
Well, and shout out Preserving Hardcore, one of the sickest things going.
Hell yeah. Malactitude from Costa Rica. Banging band. Check them out. That Take Offense record might be my favorite Take Offense record, but again, like I couldn't pick a track. Generation, Queensway, Shining Hour, what a killer demo that is kind of forgotten to time. I think they were like a band that COVID killed, but like if you're into like Revolution Summary style stuff, check that out. Putrid Brew had 2 songs were both killer. Spirit Crusher. Zach mentioned this as well, but like that Slant 7-inch is so good. It's just, I don't listen to it as much as the LP. And so I'm sure there's a song on there that deserves to be on this playlist, but it's just a record I haven't explored as much as the LP. So, but it rips. I listened to it today.
Okay. Austin, honorables.
All right. I'll get through these before my computer crashes again. They Tell Me by Abuse of Power. Give Me Back My Time by Slow Fire Pistol. Where I Was From, the Doin' Drug Music version by Milspec. Half Alive, Akulu, the 7-inch version. Angels Over Berlin, Fury, Altitude, High Viz, Grift, Method of Doubt, Brunt of Time, Result of Choice, Uninhibited, Inclination, From Another Age, Ceremony, The Reach, One Step Closer, No Man's Hoe, Wild Side, Self-Inflicted, Hammered Hulls, Four Shadows Cast Their Name, Big Contest, Promise of Tomorrow, Spirit Crusher, Speak, Brother, Look Inward, Rule Them All, Spread of Lies, Touch, Only from One Side, Truth Cult, Grace, Generation, Refuse to be Bound by Chains, Red Death, Strength for Breath, Be Well, the single version, and Okra. This is a song by Game, and the song is in Polish, I believe. Oxorawani. Sorry, Ola, I totally butchered Polish. Shout out Ratel.
Okay, Dan, where can the people find you?
On Instagram, at Southport Instagrammer.
Chris, where can the people find you?
If you want to find me, you can find me at Chris Williams 51 on all the things.
Austin, where can the people find you?
At Stemper Tantrum on the socials.
Everyone get at me, 185 miles south on Instagram, but don't DM me. Shoot me an email, 185milessouth@gmail.com. It's 185 miles south everywhere on all the socials. And that's what's up. We'll talk to everyone next Monday on Patreon.